You can't see it, but I've literally been just trying to sort my hair out and get things ready for this video for the last 4 minutes. Yeah, let's just get into it. This video is a honest, vulnerable look into my history with addiction. My goal in sharing this is hopefully, if you're struggling with addiction, maybe somebody you know is struggling with addiction, that, somewhere in here you find something helpful that helps yourself or that helps another. If this is your first time here in my channel, Studio Raphael, I'm still sort of in an exploratory phase, but my goal here is to create safe spaces for the exploration of self-expression, and that to me is really about vulnerability. And the only way I can really create safe spaces for self-expression is by being vulnerable myself, so that people can feel safe being vulnerable with me too. So my goal here is just to be vulnerable. Let's check it out. So, growing up, I don't necessarily think that I had much cause for addiction. I would say most of my childhood was pretty solid. I was generally speaking a pretty happy kid, other than a teenage trauma that happened to me that I would say would be a bit of a later catalyst for what sort of caused me to spiral into addiction. But generally speaking, I wouldn't say there was anything that really was like a telltale sign of abusive home, abusive family, none of that. I lived a very, solid childhood. Where addiction for me really started to come into play in my life was when I was at university. So the first time that I smoked weed, I was close to 19. I was 19. I tried it for the first time, and I didn't really think much of it. It didn't really enter my life in an intense way the first time I tried weed. It was just kind of there. And then university, I just started finding myself unhappy. I would say going to university wasn't really something I wanted to do. It was just something I thought that I was supposed to do. When people asked me what I was doing at university, I would just say to them, I'm just here to get the degree and then move on. That's it. I didn't care. That led me pretty much to third year university, where I didn't care. I switched from sciences to arts because I was really struggling in the sciences. And I was just basically at this point trying to work on music, was really unhappy with school, and was basically just staying in bed all day, smoking weed, playing World of Warcraft. That was what life became. I left university at that point because I was like, what the hell am I doing here? And I came back home to Vancouver. That was when I would say things slowly started to, I don't necessarily want to say spiral, but that was when weed started to play a bigger role in my life. This was where, and around, I would say even second year university, I was starting to sort of have this fight with depression, and weed just, I don't want to say that weed made depression worse, but it just it didn't help anything. I was just smoking weed, feeling depressed, and trying to make music to make myself feel better, but nothing was really helping me. That was until, where do I go? University, I don't know. We just kind of it was just there. It was just always a part of my life for a really long time. And I think the general trend with something like weed, or with something like any addiction, is that it sort of starts off as something that helps us, and then eventually it just becomes a crutch. And it becomes the thing that's really easy to fall into. It's the pattern that just keeps on. We've just gotten so used to filling a void with whatever we're addicted to, that just becomes the easiest thing to fall to. And instead of looking at the thing that we're struggling with, we just go into the thing that keeps us comfortable and safe and numbs out what we're scared to feel. So I would say about probably 3-4 years ago was when I really started to enter that phase with weed where I was like, I need to stop smoking. It wasn't making me feel good. I was finding myself really tired and lethargic, and really what I was using weed for was just to escape my frustrations with my life. And I think, look, I'm using weed, cannabis, because that's the the main addictive substance that was there for me, but it's also been video games. It's also been other general problems that even at this moment I don't really want to get into, because there's still some fear and nervousness around it for me, and there's some things that I need to be better at, or I'm still exploring vulnerably. But I would say it's a lot of what most modern men tend to struggle with, which is finding ways to escape the feelings that we don't want to feel, and to escape doing the things that we want to do but we're scared to do. Yeah, so even during a time where, like, I would say, I guess I'll preface this part by saying I am 6 months clean off of smoking, which feels really good. And I feel like I'm much better and more in the clear now, but I do still feel like there's growth and work to do. But there was a period, like, what is it? No, I want to say like a year and a half ago, where I stopped smoking for 3 months, but I basically just took my cannabis addiction and just started putting it into video games. I literally went from not smoking, and then I went to just filling all that time up with video games, and still feeling tired and frustrated and angry, and not doing the things that I needed to do to progress my life. And I was like, okay, well, I stopped smoking weed. Shouldn't I feel better at this point? But everything that I wanted for myself, such as putting myself out into the world, expressing myself, helping people, I wasn't really taking steps towards those things. So I was still angry, I was still frustrated, and after 3 months, I just went back to smoking weed. That, I would say, was around for another 5 to 6 months, where it was just something I kind of hid, and, eventually just reached a point where life and the universe was like, all right, man, come on, enough is enough. And it was taking a toll on my relationship. It was starting to permeate into other relationships in terms of family and life in general. And it wasn't until, I guess, life circumstance kind of came up to me and were like, hey, you kind of just need to quit. And in some ways, I wish I'd taken more agency to do it for myself. I wish that it didn't have to be by somebody else smelling it and saying to me, hey, like, are you still smoking? Come on, what's happening? But, to me, I was just doing, from the mindset that I had, I was just doing my best to protect myself. I was just scared. I was scared to talk about it with people. I was scared, and the feeling of shame that I had, it was just, when you're in the depths of it, you're just doing what you can to protect yourself. That's it. And it's hard to see that people are trying to help you, and it's hard to really honor the feeling that you have and to do the thing that you say you're going to do, when it just, you're bargaining with the need to maybe just have a smoke once, or just, you don't want to let go of the thing. You want to be able to still have it in your life somehow, because you appreciate that it comes from it. But just like any sort of toxic relationship, you can love it and you can want it in your life, but that doesn't mean that it's good for you. And that doesn't mean that you can't reshape and change the relationship you have with it in the future. But at the very least, you need to do the work, so that way you're not just re-entering a toxic dynamic. I do believe that healing around addiction is very possible, and that the feeling that we are working on here is shame. If you can get to a point with your addiction, and this was somebody I was speaking to, she told it to me. She's a very incredible counselor. And she was explaining to me how, sorry, just my eyes itchy. She was explaining to me how her relationship with alcohol has changed, and how now she can have a drink without feeling the shame that she used to feel. And so she doesn't spiral, because she feels like she can have a drink and she can tell people, and she doesn't feel worried or ashamed, or like people are going to say to her, or she's going to think to herself, oh man, I'm just going into a spiral. No, the shame is gone. She processed the shame. So for me, I feel like processing the shame is possible. I feel like speaking about it helps. I feel like sharing and expressing these things really vulnerably is what gets us to a point where it no longer has a control over us. And I feel like I just need to reach that point where I'm no longer counting the days to when I last smoked, or even thinking about the day when I get to smoke again. I just need to be in a place where I'm happy with life and I love what I'm doing, and life is just incredible. And I'm assuming at that point that I won't even care to smoke, because what would I need it for? I would feel really happy and grounded in the reality that I've created, and I wouldn't feel the need to escape or get away or to go on some sort of plant medicine trip. Why? Why would I need it if I'm really happy with where I'm at? I would want to be in the present. I would want to experience life. So instead of trying to disappear and find ways out of it, I could just sit in it and be present. And really what facing my addictions have taught me, and I say addictions because it's scrolling on my phone, it's smoking weed, there's so many addictions out there, and I think drugs and alcohol tend to be the two that are sort of put on the pedestal of addiction. But I would argue that 99% of people are addicted to something, if not 100% of people. It's food, it's phone scrolling, it's sleeping, it's going to the gym, anything. There's so many addictions that people can fall into, and it's just to escape something else. It's to escape a feeling. And really, since sitting with these feelings and getting comfortable with them, I feel like I've gotten so much better at holding space for myself, holding space for others, because I know what it's like to sit in those comfortable emotions. And unless we do the things that we're really scared to do, then the growth can't happen. And I think the hardest part for me is that as somebody who wants to create safe spaces for self-expression, I just really wanted it to happen without having to quit weed. I just wanted to bargain my way to a space where I could still be smoking or still be doing my escape mechanism while getting to help others. But I wasn't helping myself. And really, helping ourselves is the greatest way to help others. Because when we have the answers to our own problems, then we can be the reflection for others to find theirs. So, yeah, my name's Aiden. This is Studio Raphael. That was a vulnerable expression on my history with addiction. I'm happy to say that, I'm still going strong here, and by even making these videos, I am continuing to push myself out of my comfort zone and to share the things that I'm scared to say and to do the things that I'm scared to do. And slowly but surely, we will continue to create these safe spaces for the exploration of self-expression. So thanks for tuning in. If you like the video, leave a like. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'm excited to hopefully meet you, hear from you. And, recently as well, I've become a certified life coach. So my goal is to help people in working through these blocks, in connecting with their self-expression, and to do the hard shit, because I know that it's hard. I do. And I'm still learning. I'm not going to say that I'm as much of the man as I desire to be, but I've got a vision in my mind of where I'm going, and doing these things is what helps me get there. So thanks again. And yeah, of course, don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy these vulnerable talks and you want more of them. It's the best way to let me know that you like it. And yeah, all the best. Hopefully I'll see you around the studio sometime. Take care.